How's it going, guys? My name is Sonoda, and this is going to be my first video on YouTube. Well, first and a half, but we won't talk about the half one from years ago. Um, this is going to be a random video. This is literally just going to be me ranting for God knows how long. No editing, no funny memes, nothing like that. I just needed to get some thoughts out about some recent developments within the gaming industry. And you can just chuck this on the second monitor or ignore it completely. You can do whatever you like. I'm not in charge of you. But without further ado, I just wanted to give my 2 cents about the. It's a bit loud. Um, I want to give my 2 cents about the current Diablo Immortal release. It's been exactly what I and I'm sure many others expected. It has been a total shit show. Um, from the very moment it was announced, everyone knew exactly how it was going to go, and despite all the doomsayers and defenders, it went exactly how it did. Possibly even worse than what people thought. Now, I do want to talk about the current state of gaming and why this isn't surprising and why this doesn't even disappoint me. Um, Pay to win microtransactions, they are prominent throughout games, everywhere. Like to the smallest game, even like having a pre-order bonus or a deluxe edition. Monetization is frequent in every game, minus certain indie games, because of course they only have a small development team. But throughout every single other game, they continue exactly the same way. Um, in a more recent release, we talk about Lost Ark and, of course, Genshin Impact as well. These two games have been very prominent in influencing the players and actually bringing in more pay to win defenders than originally before. As you know, the talk of the town was that mobile games suck because of microtransactions, and then there were a small minority of people saying, well, they're free to play games. They need money to survive. Pay to win is necessary. Yada yada yada. Or microtransactions, whatever it is. And now, with the release of Genshin Impact, what they did was they didn't just give you a mobile game; they gave you a good mobile game. And of course, when you get into a game, it's very hard to get out of it, especially with a game as relatively fun as Genshin Impact. And naturally, people will be more drawn towards the pay to win or the gacha mechanics of the game. And it's the same with Lost Ark. Lost Ark came out recently for the West. It's been out in Korea for I think 4 years, and in Russia for like two. I'm not sure on the specifics, but it's a very successful game over there, and people in the West have been asking for it a lot. Um, its combat system is one of the best that I've ever played in an MMO, especially a top-down isometric game in general, and I think that merits something. But because the gameplay was so good, a lot of people have gone to defend the monetization practices, and because the company behind them, namely Smilegate, have been very passionate about the game and in very close dialogue with the Korean players. So naturally, the Korean players will take more of a stance in defending the game for its practices. And of course, we can consider that in Korea, the game is a lot more free to play friendly than it is and we have in our current version because the game has been out for longer. Um, so of course they will take that stance, and it's completely natural. But it doesn't take away from the fact that the existence of these microtransactions do play a part in the fundamental game design of a video game. In that you have a lot of time gating mechanics, and then you sell um, opportunities to reduce that time. It might not be pay to win in a PvP sense, but it is certainly pay for convenience or pay to progress. And that's when people start spending money. I'm all for microtransactions in free to play games, but you can't deny that it does affect the game on a much deeper level than just having microtransactions. Even if they're just cosmetic microtransactions could take a lot of the reward and the motivation to play a game. In an example like Guild Wars 2, some really good outfits in the gem shop, but just doesn't really feel as good to do a raid and get a cool looking mount from it. or an armor set or something than it is, and then you can when you just buy it from the store, right? So with Diablo Immortal, I think it's fair to say that a lot of people are having fun with the game, and I probably should have done this inside, but here's what it is. I'm just gonna let it drive past. Welcome to my area. Um, yeah, it's fair to say that Diablo Immortal, people have been having fun with the game, which is always a good thing. I think the more fun games there are to play. I mean, especially free to play ones, even if you don't agree with the microtransactions, you can always just play it for a few hours or even like 10 hours and just drop the game, you know? So you don't have to stick around for it. You don't have to ask for updates or whatever. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Just go play Diablo 3 or Path of Exile. It's as simple as that. Um, or even Diablo 2, that's right. We have Diablo 2 remastered. But, the fact is, the pay to win does exist in the game, and in this case with PvP, it is very, very real, and it is shameful, right? It is very shameful, but I think we're way past the point of pointing fingers because at this stage, I don't think it works anymore. World of Warcraft still has the WoW token. Lost Ark still has microtransactions, and we even got in the recent update there were the whole skin RNG loot box bullshit that they just updated in there as well. Um, Genshin is still bringing in new characters and doing them wishes or whatever y'all call it. Man, I don't know. Spending $20,000 to get a 5-star character, whatever the hell it is, I have no idea. This stuff is still happening, and it's happening en masse. And the amount of mobile game adaptations and mobile game announcements for IPs that people are interested in have been, astronomical. We had so many different games ported to mobile instead of getting a sequel or whatever it is because it's just so profitable. And I think at this stage, when we look at these games and we say, you know, bad, no, bad pay to win. You're a shrimp against the tidal wave. The amount of people that spend money and the amount of money that they spend on these games is too good for any company, morals or not, to pass on. Right? It's we want to talk about the whole streaming meta with the current gambling meta. I mean, these streamers get offered a hell of a lot of money that it's really really hard to say no to. It's the same way with these companies designing mobile games. And for Activision Blizzard, you can imagine they absolutely would not pass up on this money opportunity, right? The only W that they've had recently was that they haven't announced pre-orders for Dragonflight yet, their next World of Warcraft expansion, and usually that comes with the first cinematic. In fact, I thought that they were going to go way down the rabbit hole and allow pre-orders even before the cinematic came out, but that's the only good thing that I can say that's happened recently. Now, of course, I don't want to attack any of the developers of the game because I know that the developers do not sit there and design and say, hey, let's charge our player base. Let's make them spend thousands of dollars, or as I heard, it's tens of thousands of dollars to get some of the best gems or whatever the hell it is in the game. I don't think they sit there and do that. They sit there and they listen to the other people that tell them, listen, this is how we're going to monetize the game, and you're gonna have to design it around it. Otherwise, you're out of here. I don't know the specifics. I don't have any inside information, and I'm certainly not a game developer. But I think we can kind of surmise that this is really what happens in these games, and it's really, really sad because I'm still gonna play it. I haven't played it yet. I probably should have played it before I made this video. Maybe I'll make another one. Who knows? But I still want to play it because it's Diablo. I mean, and I'm not going to pay for any microtransactions because I just don't want to. If I spend 10 hours on the game, sure, I'll spend $10. I always believe if something gives me like 10, 20, 30 hours of enjoyment, it deserves my money. That's just how an economy works. I don't want to disrespect any of the developers' time in giving me this experience, right? So I'm not against paying money or paying microtransactions to support a company. I am against manipulating people to spend money in a game, to not support the company but to support the the higher ups and the investors, of course. But in general, we can't do anything about it, not right now, because the only people that are above these companies are the government. And I don't know what degree of pocket lining that they have with the governments, but this is an international release, so I'm sure we've already seen a country like Belgium ban these microtransactions in which or the loot boxes, and you know Diablo Immortal, they can't play it. I don't know if they can use a VPN or whatever, but it's just banned. So I think really at this stage we have to wait for the government to do something about it for your own country, and eventually when these bigger countries do it, then these companies will finally say, all right, we need we need to stop. The problem with that, though, is there's another follow-up problem to that is, and it's rooted deeply in human nature, is even if the government does something about loot boxes and microtransactions, where do they draw the line? Are we not allowed to have subscriptions anymore? Because then, if that's the case, if there's no microtransactions or subscriptions, then MMOs are going to die out. Unless they allow like player donations or something like that, they're going to die out. So if they allow subscriptions but no microtransactions, then it's natural for the subscription prices to get higher, and then of course these companies will see that, and then they'll introduce multiple subscription options. You can have the free to play players, and then you can have like the buy to play players, and then the subscription players that are paying for the base subscription. So let's say this is where WoW players are right now, and then you have the super premium, which pay like $30 a month, right? And then you have the mega premium, which pay like $50 a month, and they get all of these benefits. And then you have like the $80 a month, and whatever the hell the company wants to make. And then there will be people. There will be people that do that because they'll obviously attach in-game benefits, and then they'll design the game around having these subscriptions be necessary. So, if something is done about pay to win soon, then I'll be happy with it. But just keep in mind, there's always going to be something. And at the end of the day, a company needs money to develop a video game. The way in which they get the money is obviously questionable, but this fight is going to be a long one. Or it's not even a fight, really. It's just a technicality on our part because these companies are way too big for us to go with. But let's not talk like there aren't alternatives, right? There are a lot of brilliant indie games that have currently been developed. We had V Rising recently. We've had Vampire Survivors, which is super good, right? And we have a lot of a lot of these Sony games coming out next year and being ported to the PC, like Spider-Man. I don't know why it took so long, but we're getting Spider-Man on the PC for you PC players. Um, and yeah, like there are definitely plenty of other games that are still coming out, and gaming as a whole isn't dead. If anything, it's more alive than ever. But because it's more alive than ever, it's obviously being monetized to hell because that's just what happens to anything that garners popularity, right? But I think I've said all that I've had to say on the matter. Um, I still need to go in and play Diablo Immortal myself to actually gauge how good the base game is without microtransactions, so I might do that very soon. But I just wanted to get these thoughts out of my head rather than just sit on them and tell them to, you know, people who wouldn't really care, which is probably you guys. But to like the two of you or three of you that watch this video, have a good day. Um, Try to stay safe. Try not to spend too much money on a game, and value your time is probably the best advice that I'd give you. Let's just sit and wait and see what developments come from all of these events, and I'll see you in the next big game.